welcome back to Lobow Spark Podcast. Now, I know, I am not Lobow. I'm up for the challenge. I'm chair of the Up for Mental Health charity, all about mental health, as you may have guessed. And this is a special podcast where Lobow came over to the Up for Mental Health podcast and spoke to R.J. Zimmerman, one of our trustees, talking about ADHD, mental health advocacy, and the misconceptions that society has around these things. So the description below, you will find the details of the Up for Mental Health podcast, which is over on Spotify. But we hope you enjoy this special episode between RJ and Lobow.
I'm RJ Zimmerman, and I am a trustee on the board of Up for Mental Health. And I have the privilege and pleasure of being here with my good friend, Lobow. How are you doing today, sir?
I am fantastic. Can't wait to get this thing going. It was a blast doing the podcast the other night, so I cannot wait.
I am very excited for this as well. Like I've been excited ever since, and your energy is infectious. But for those who don't know who Lobow is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So my name's Lobow, and my, I guess, username or whatever social media people do is Lobow Spark. And basically, I set out a year ago to help people with ADHD. That was my number one thing, was I wanted people with ADHD to realize that they weren't broken. I wanted them to realize the positive aspects of their life. And I don't want them thinking negatively about themselves, because they do have a lot to give to this world. And that's the same goes for every single mental health person out there. Is there are some real qualities that you have that nobody else does. And once I saw that and could accept it, I wanted to spread that as quickly as possible. Hence spark, fire spreads, all that kind of stuff. It's a fun thing to do, but it's also important because people don't understand how good they are. And my background is I had a very privileged upbringing, so I'm using that privilege to help every single person with mental health disorders on this planet. That is my goal. I know there's a lot, but I'm going to work every day towards it, and that's a little bit of my background. I will say.
I love that. Everything you just said, it gives me so much joy. And, we did an entire podcast and we had a long conversation. We've been on this call for almost 30 minutes, just talking back and forth.
Right.
And just, it's been an instant connection. And for those who don't know, who are just tuning into this podcast for the first time, my name is RJ Zimmerman. I was diagnosed with ADHD around 3 years ago, pretty close to 3 years ago, when my youngest son was born. But I'm an alcoholic, and I have been sober for 8.5 years. When we hear ADHD, thank you. When we hear ADHD, that's okay.
Had to do it.
I like to acknowledge when people tell me congratulations, because I used to brush right past it, but it is an accomplishment. And I think that's something, and we talked about this on the episode I was on with you. We don't celebrate our accomplishments enough. If we do, we leave it at a surface level and we don't let it sink deeper. So people with it, if we hear ADHD, right, there's that stigma that is attached with it. The young boys in school can't stay still, always causing problems. And when you take that pill, you're cured. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I can't remember where I read this study, but what I read was there's more women who are girls that are diagnosed with ADHD than boys. So when you hear these stigmas be floated around, these stereotypes, what do you say when you hear that? Do you go with facts? Do you say, well, why do you think that that's it?
Well, number one, it pisses me off just to know that that's the way it is right now. And so to me, guys are overdiagnosed because it's the 12-year-old boy syndrome, like you just said. It is, you can't sit still in math class. Well, what 12-year-old boy is going to sit still in math class? It's boring. I'm sorry. Like, that's just not going to happen unless you really love it. But with women and girls, they're underdiagnosed because it is the 12-year-old boy syndrome. So unless they're exuding like all of these symptoms out there, no one is going to pay any attention to it, which is completely sad and wrong. Because what ends up happening is they internalize it, which is way worse in the long run than the guys that, you know, they say, okay, well, you're diagnosed with ADHD because you couldn't sit still in math. Well, that's so ridiculous. So we're overdiagnosed. Women are underdiagnosed. However, if a girl gets diagnosed with ADHD, the only positive to this is that they damn sure have it, because it is literally, they don't analyze things with guys as much as they do with girls when they're doing these tests and everything like that. If a girl has it and they get diagnosed with it, the only positive is that they have it. I mean, that's my opinion of it. We are a little bit concerned. Do we have it? Do we not? We were 12 years old and we couldn't sit still in class. Do we have it? Do we not? Because it's so overdiagnosed with guys.
It really is. It really is. And that's one of those things, like, when you're diagnosed with it, there's a little bit of that stigma, right? Like, either
Right.
you're on medication or you're not. Like, what else do you have to do? But the thing with not being diagnosed is our brains, the way our brains are wired, are different.
Yeah.
And if you go through your adolescent years, they call it your formative years for a reason. Like, that is when your brain is developing so much, and you go through and you're told that your brain is quote unquote normal, and you wonder why you can't focus or pay attention or have the anxiety that you do compared to everybody else. Like you said, you internalize all of that, and it ends up leading to more mental health challenges down the road, because now you have to undo all of that learned. And if you're lucky, it's only 5, 6, 7 years.
Right.
If you're unlucky, it's 15 to 20 to 25 plus years of trying to unlearn that the way that your brain works is not normal. And that's okay. But B, it explains why you think about things, feel about things, the way that you work in general, the way your personality is at a deep level. Like that.
Yeah.
One of the stigmas of mental health that I get just fired up about, right?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Is the fact that I was diagnosed with ADHD. That's an excuse. That's an excuse, right? If you're diagnosed with something, that's just an excuse. It's like, hold on a second. Like, you get diagnosed with anything physical and you say nothing about it being an excuse. But if it's mental, it's an excuse, right? Yeah. So instead of it being a reason for my desk is a mess all the time because it's the living embodiment of my brain for real, like all of the Post-it notes of different colors that I forget are there unless I'm looking right at them. And let me tell you, they're bright colors. There's a reason that is like that. That is not an excuse.
No. So let me ask you this. So it's interesting. That's a great point. And I don't think I've said this ever actually, but think of physical diseases. Like you have you get sick. Why is that not the same as when your brain doesn't function the way everyone else's does? So when you get sick and you get through it, it's revered. It is the most incredible thing on earth. But with mental health, you get through it and then it's, well, you should have. Like what is that?
Wow.
Like if there is a disease that you recover from physically, the world reveres you for it. Yet not only are we recovering, we are thriving in certain circumstances. And it's like, well, you should. Would you ever tell anyone with cancer, well, you should have gotten through that? Really?
I mean, diabetes, we could go down a line.
Right. Down
But,
that line. And I'm not putting cancer as equal to ADHD. I'm just saying, like,
right.
we don't view physical illness the same way we view mental illness. And that is a effing problem. I caught myself there.
So here is something about us at Up for Mental Health. We do swear, so it's okay.
Fuck yes. All right. So it is a fucking problem.
About Adam, who is our chair.
Yeah.
Up for the challenge. You go there, and every other word is a fuck and a shit and a damn.
Okay.
I mean, and guess what?
Thank you.
That's how people talk, right? So that's how we want to have conversations, is real life conversations that matter. And like that's how I feel Up for Mental Health. We are kind of on I don't want to say on the forefront because we're not there yet, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring mental health to the masses in a way that everybody can understand.
Well, and that's great because that's what we're all trying to do. You're just giving it a haven to do it, which is
absolutely.
And now that I know I can cuss, that is fucking outstanding. Okay, I know it really is. I mean, because think about those people. I mean, at its core, I think what y'all are trying to do is save the person that's at on their last rope. You're trying to save that person that thinks they got nothing left. But having people like me and Mindset by Dave and all those other people on like these shows, that can help them. So you're just giving it a haven.
Just so you know, we're gonna take that and trademark it. So thank you for that.
Okay, you're welcome.
So like, when you think about like physical health as well, right? So like, let's say we talk about cancer, we'll just stay there, right? And you have the cross physical diagnoses that can come from that because it weakens your immune system, right? And makes your body more susceptible to common colds, pneumonia, things like that. When it comes to major mental health disorders, like it's not understood that also weakens your, I don't want to say weakens because you're not weak, right? But it opens your mind to be more susceptible to other mental health challenges and diagnoses.
100%.
That is where I think the scientific community is behind, right? Because we're starting to talk about cross diagnoses, but a lot of the time, if you're a kid and you went in to get diagnosed with ADHD and you didn't, and now you've been suffering with, let's say, you have had depression. Let's say you have high anxiety. Let's say eating disorders. Let's say alcoholism.
Right.
A lot of that can be attributed back to a symptom of ADHD. Can be you were opened up to these other issues because you were told, no, you're normal. Normal people don't think like that. And then you think something's wrong with you. Yeah. And like this cross diagnosis, like when we talk about that kind of when we finally start to open up and talk about that and look at it, and it's like, man, I could have saved myself a lot of trouble and agony and everything like that. Like that's where like ADHD, like I want the conversation to go. Yeah. It's talking about how it causes things.
Well, and that's the problem with that's the biggest issue with being diagnosed late, like you were, is because when you were younger, it was just nothing. It was, you know what? He's fine. He does well in school, right? Like nothing can be wrong with him. But that's not what ADHD is. You can do really well in school, or you can do really shitty in school like me. Okay. Like it doesn't, there's no basis for this except for the fact that you have to really get to know the person with it to understand how it plays a role in their life. That is the biggest thing. I keep saying, I say this every single time I talk. It's like, unless you get to know that person on a personal level, you won't understand this worth shit. Like you just can't.
I'm not like laughing about the conversation or smiling. Like I'm like, we are on such a same wavelength here. Like,
right.
I think that when, you know, that's another thing that the public has perception of mental health is the checked boxes.
Yep.
Sometimes that goes into a clinical setting as well.
Yeah.
Where if you don't check all the boxes, you can't be that. Whereas if you would get to know the individual and you would see what their life is, you know, and how they're acting or reacting to stimulus, you'd be like, oh, that is definitely a symptom that we might consider normal in somebody else, but it's a symptom in you. And then it's like, or well within, let's say well within parameters too, because like,
yeah, no, I agree with that. How I got tested when I was 5 actually was they made me hit the space bar every time like a green 1 came up on the screen. And then I couldn't hit the space bar if there was the green 0. But see, what they were doing was someone would open the door in the back, you know, while I was trying to do this test. And they think that I don't know that they're opening the door to see if I'll get distracted. Well, that's not the whole thing there. Okay. What that is I'm perceptive as shit because I know that you're trying to open the fucking door to distract me. Okay. So I understand that. So there's one symptom before I hit the space bar on the 1. Okay. Like, is that I'm very perceptive. I choose to view things as I know they're doing that on purpose instead of why can't I hit the space bar with the number 1? That's how I choose to view it.
But you're not wrong. Like that's the thing. Like,
I know.
Like, when we look at things from like different perspectives, and I think that that's really what our goal at Up for Mental Health really is, as well as bringing in so many diverse perspectives into mental health, because we can't look at everything through a prism of normal. Exactly. What is normal, right? And like what you just said, it's just like, it's these things that we don't necessarily, we feel, but we don't have the words for, or we've noticed, but we've never spoken it out loud. Like if I see somebody, I tend to remember what they look like, and like I could pick them out again.
Right.
Am I going to remember your name?
No. Not a shot in hell.
But I will know you, and I will know where I saw you, and like what was going on at the time. Like all of this I can recall. But what's your name?
I can't.
When's your birthday? Geez. When my kid's born. Totally. I know that one.
Well, it's funny that you say that because like back to what I was just saying, but some people with ADHD, they will sit there glued to the space bar when that 1 comes up, and they will ignore the door that opens in the background or the person sitting in front of them, analyzing, judging, you know, all of those kind of things. But that doesn't mean that they don't have it. Like this is what's so interesting. I'm a high intensity guy. I like intensity. I like rushes. I like risk taking. That's my ADHD. A lot of other people, it doesn't present itself that way. Mm-hmm. So what do you have to do? What we just said, get to know the person and their personality in order to identify these things. And the only way that we can fix this is by actually caring. Not caring because some fucking test told you that you have it. Sorry, I get really passionate about this.
I just want you to know here, don't apologize for your passion, because your passion is what gives you purpose. I think Adam would say those exact words, because I probably took it from him. So
I love it. I love it.
And that's the thing too, is these conversations that you and I are having, and not talking about, oh, I tap my leg, or
Yeah.
I snap my pen all the time.
Yeah.
But what you said about sitting there and focusing and only seeing the one and ignoring everything
Yeah.
else, that is such a reality. Like, a lot of people don't understand that sometimes, like, some people with ADHD cannot focus, and
Right.
some people hyper focus. And then sometimes people, well, I'm going to say a lot of people with ADHD tend to slide in between.
Yeah.
And you'll
That's
go from moments
yeah.
of hyper focusing to moments of like no focus at all. And it could be at the
Yeah.
same task that you were doing 5 minutes ago, and you
Yeah.
just don't have it anymore.
And what they don't understand is that if that person that is so focused on the space bar hitting that one, when that door opens and they can't return to the space bar for a week, that is where you should be concerned. But where's that test? Is there a test to wait a week? Would you derail someone with ADHD because of one interruption and they can't fucking do shit for a week? Where's the test for that?
For anybody out there with ADHD that struggles, like, either with your symptoms, or you may not have even been diagnosed, but you suspect, if you go to TikTok and look up Lobow Sparks, because he helps a lot, but he's also a gateway to a lot of other brilliant content makers there that like help explain it. And then you hear Dr. Robert Barkley, who you mentioned, and I could not remember his name. And then I saw his face and I'm like, oh yeah, I do know him. When Lobow
is Russell the same as Robert? Is that like, so is
Russell?
It's Russell, but like I feel like that's the same as Robert.
Yeah,
so,
right.
Names terrible. He
know
said something,
and
I love that guy. He is literally like, he explains things incredibly well. The one thing that I've never gotten from him though is he will not say that ADHD can be a huge gift. And that's the one thing he won't do, because he says that it's no gift. But not to criticize the Godfather, okay? He looks like the Godfather too, by the way. White, yeah. But I mean, I love that guy. Like, he literally changed the way I think about ADHD. It's just that there's one thing missing, in my opinion, is telling people how good they are. That's what's missing.
I wonder if that's missing from mental health, right?
Totally agree. That's
the way
why
that our mind works. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think that what we see a lot, and I was thinking about this earlier today, and sometimes it comes back and sometimes it doesn't. So
it happens.
I was thinking about fear, right? And how fear really does lead to a lot of reactions, a lot of anger, a lot of hate, uncomfortable. And everybody likes to attribute it back to Star Wars and Yoda talking about the dark side, right? Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, or sadness leads to fear.
Yeah, yep.
All of that, right? And that leads to the dark side. But really, when we fear something, what that is our body and our minds telling us that we have something to learn. Yeah. Because the biggest thing we fear is the unknown. So if we start to fear something,
100%.
And then we react and we have this visceral reaction. Yeah. Well, a lot of times, it's because it's going to cause us harm. But when it's not going to cause us harm, is that we don't understand it. Therefore, it's going to cause us harm. Therefore, we're going to be anger and hate and everything. But if you learn about it, if you have a better understanding about it, there aren't excuses, right? But the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about other things in the world, the way that different brains react to different stimuli. If you want to get plural, and you want to be
Stimuli's fine with me. Yeah, that's fine with me. That's funny.
So if
That's very funny.
when you start to learn this, like it helps when
Yeah.
you are struggling. Like that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing that I can tell
Yeah.
people. I was struggling last week, but I never struggled to the point of the lows that I used to struggle, because I understood that my body was trying to tell me something. My mind was working through something. My mind has been working through a lot the past like 2
Yeah.
years, right? There's been a lot of stress in my life. There's been a lot of changes. There's been a lot of things, just like in anybody's life, right?
Right.
And knowing that my brain reacts to stress in a way because of how it's wired,
Right.
knowing that I'm more susceptible to, let's say, being hard on myself,
Yeah.
low self-esteem, all of it, like identifying that I'm susceptible to that, it helps me to approach things with instead of a sense of fear, a sense of, let's figure this out. What is it?
Yeah. Exactly. And so, okay, so that's it. Oh my God, that's such a good point. How many people in your life have you been able to explain that to? And then they come back and say, yeah, that does really suck, but I understand why. And I'm here for you. How many times does that happen? It's one thing for a psychiatrist to do it. That's their job.
Right.
That is, you are paying them money to cry on the couch. I get it. But it's quite another for someone, random stranger, to reach out and say, I know it sucks, but you're awesome also. That is a massive, massive thing for people, because their confidence gets just a little bit bigger every time you tell them that. And their drawbacks become less important, because they can make fun of themselves to themselves for their drawbacks instead of getting depressed over them, because now they have the confidence to make fun of them. Everyone else in the room laughs, and then all of a sudden they're popular. Like this honestly, it's extremely difficult, but it isn't. Everyone has something good to give to this world. So fucking tell them what they have good to give to this world. And I swear to you, it'll work every time.
Every time. My friend Bear, who's also on Twitch, he's a Twitch streamer. He's been on the podcast, but he likes to say, give your flowers to people while they're still here.
Yeah.
Right. And I heard that saying again this weekend. And it's like, that is so much the truth that we lose sight of it.
Mm-hmm.
How many things do we look at in not just mental health, like philosophy, because really what is philosophy trying to do? Trying to talk about like the human experience, mental health, why we think about things the way we do. But there's so many stereotypes, there's so many cliches, stereotypes, not really, but like things that were like, that's a cliche, like that's not true. Get jaded.
Yeah.
But then we get to a point where we're like, actually, that is true. And, giving people flowers and their compliments and building people up to a point where, this isn't me. This is my body talking to me.
All of a sudden their weaknesses aren't as weak, because they realize that what their weaknesses are in the grand scheme of life aren't as important as they thought they were.
Or here's something that you said, right? Your weaknesses looked at from a different angle, sure as hell could be strengths.
Yep. 100%.
Sure as hell are strengths.
Yeah, they are. They actually really are. Because who else has changed the world but people that are different? I don't know of a one.
Oh my goodness. You, sir, are a poet. Thank you.
It's good because I failed poetry.
it's always the greatest poets in the world are always the ones who fail poetry.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. My English teacher would be proud. But yeah, no, it's true. I mean, what person that ever changed the world was the same? That didn't have something up there that was different that people made fun of them for. Name for me that person, because they don't exist. You've got to be able to think outside the box. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that a natural ADHD quality? Yes, it is.
And it turns out that there's a vast amount of empathy that's there too. So, when you're talking about being able to pick out, emotions, in other people, not often ourselves, but in other people, like it's a feeling. It's almost like we have.
It's a gut instinct. It's a gut instinct,
right?
Yeah. Right. Do you read the eyes or do you read the body language? Because there's two different types, I think. So like when I sit down at a dinner table, I'm looking at eyes. Like and I can see where someone is a little bit off if based on their eyes. But a lot of people, most people with ADHD, in my opinion, that I've met, it's body language. So if you think about that, what do you think? I'm curious.
I've never thought about it, but thinking about it, I think it's body language.
Right.
But I only have one tattoo on my body, and it's a pair of eyes, and it says eyes are the window to the soul. So
that's fantastic. So that might be
if I do look at eyes as well, but I really do think without seeing people's eyes, I think I can
have a sixth sense
idea of how they're actually feeling.
Yeah, you have a sixth sense. That's I mean a lot. So many people with ADHD or any mental health disorders have that because they care about the person. Like they see through all of this other crap and look at the individual, so they know immediately how they're feeling because no one else gives a fuck. They do. We do. That's what makes us powerful people. And I don't want to go down the superhero tangent, but I get emotional about this because it's like, what else do you want in a human being than ultimate love and care and the ability to cut out all the fucking shit that does not matter?
Preach.
Yeah, I see so many people out there hurting when they're so brilliant and they like they are helping people survive, and yet the world is telling them that they're nothing when they are everything.
Yeah. And that's why we need people reaching out like yourself, being vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
That's why Adam, Up for the Challenge, Adam, our chair at upformentalhealth.org, like that's why he wanted to start this charity. It wasn't just to send people to professionals. Yes,
right.
We do want to do that.
Correct.
Yes, we want to remove barriers and help everybody to get the help that they need, right? But it's also to uplift people, to meet them where they are,
right?
To get them to do something. And this is something brilliant that you taught me when I was on your show. Start with the little wins, get your hobby, get your something that you can help take yourself back to neutral, something. And if you don't have that, we can help you find it. If you go to mentalhealth.org and you look at the resources page, it's not just numbers to call. It's not just crisis. It is videos of us teaching you about ourselves, teaching you about different hobbies, things that maybe you never even thought about, things that you're like, no, I'm not doing that. That looks hokey. That's nah. But then you start doing it and you're like, okay, damn, this is fun.
Yeah.
I gotta keep doing this.
Like I said, y'all are a haven. You're trying to start the center of the branching out. Because the next person you have on Up for Mental Health is going to be polar opposite from me. but they're probably also going to have ADHD or some sort of mental disorder. Maybe they're not as intense or whatever. Who cares? We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. Use Up for Mental Health to harp on the strengths, and I swear to you, people will gain the confidence they need to get through it. I am not a doctor for everyone out there listening at all. I have no degrees whatsoever, but I really like building people up, because why the fuck are you going to tear them down? Why are you doing that?
Why do you approach people, things with anger, right? And why are you tearing people down? Like that is a brilliant question.
Yeah, well, and I've also been, I use a little bit of the anger I have, because I do have some anger issues. That is part of my ADHD, but I use that anger as motivational influence instead of jaded anger. There's a huge difference. When you're angry because you hate, that's not probably the best route to go. But if you're angry, if you have an angry heart of love, that can be extraordinarily powerful. I told someone this the other day. Actually, I'm gonna give a shout out to Terry Shubilla. One of my favorite things I ever said was, I will use every ounce of the devil to get to the good. And that is the ADHD brain. Because the devil is engaging. The devil is influential or whatever. But you can use that bullshit to get to love. Because if you just start with love, 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 some people get turned off. Look at churches. Why do people get turned off by churches? It's because they are listening to nothing but, you're going to hell if you're doing this, this, and this, and this. Judgmental, judgmental, judgmental. But if you can use a side of the worst person on earth to get to love and save someone, then it matters. It matters. And I see you're confused a little bit by that.
No, that's my thinking. That's my thinking.
Is it really?
So
the stubbornness, is like you said, that stubbornness, that is a devil trait, but it got you to the good.
And it's gotten me through.
Right. So use that motherfucker for everything he's worth to get to the heart. Yeah.
And so the reason my thinking face was going was because you said a lot there that like I want to touch on, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm trying to think of where do I want to take this, because there's a lot to bite off there.
Yeah.
The thing that you said that made me sit up a little bit was when you said the anger issues, right?
Yeah.
So in my house, we call those big emotions, and we feel all of them. And I am the father of a 4 and a 3-year-old. And I had a lot of anger when I was a child, a lot of anger, and it was quick to come out. And it wasn't just when I was a child. It's been something that I've worked on a lot, but I don't want to shy away from it.
Yeah.
With my sons, where I see it. I see the big emotions. I want them to know that is a great thing. It is a good thing to feel your emotions, or for them to be big.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with that. And you are damn right about using that too, because when you have that fire and you put it into that passion,
yeah,
nothing in this world is going to stop you from changing it.
100%.
Nothing in this world is going to stop you from changing it. And anger has done a lot of good for the world, done a lot of bad too.
Yeah.
But it's done a hell of a lot of good.
But people with ADHD,
go ahead.
People with ADHD are perceptive enough to know. They know that those emotions, once provoked, can lead to something really, really great. The problem is that before they even get to the great, society comes in and says, that was wrong. Before they even know their plan, before they even know what they're trying to help with, they say, why the fuck are you doing this? You have anger issues. You have this and that and the other. Well, give me a goddamn chance.
Mm-hmm.
to prove to you that the reason that I'm angry right now is because someone lost their life in this certain circumstance, and I feel like I can fix it. And not fix it, but just help in some way, like you're doing right now, like I'm doing, like a lot of other fucking people are doing. But they cut it off at the anger. They don't let the anger fester to get to the good. I'm tired. I'm tired of that. I'm done with that. I will let the anger get me to help someone like you, like the 70 people I've spoken with on my podcast. I am intense, and that's fine, but I am aggressively loving. Aggressive love is not the same as anger.
I had a basketball coach. He used to tell me, hot in the heart, cool in the head.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big moment.
Yep.
Then it was, you get the fuck out there and you just let it burn.
Yes.
Right? And that is such a powerful statement, because sometimes when we don't talk about our emotions,
no, we don't. No one does.
The theory in all of this, right?
Yeah.
Do we really think our emotions are a bunch of different things, or do you think it's something that's ever changing and is in there?
It's fluid.
And that's the thing. Like, if we think that emotions can be shut off and you can just stop certain ones and then move on to the next, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because they're not something different. It's all the same.
Right.
It just shows itself in different ways.
Right. Except for the few people that branch out and use it as a difference and change the world. Kind of like people that are neurodivergent. That this is the most powerful thing on earth. I am telling, I swear, I fully believe that, because the things that make us so difficult to understand, our impulse control and all that kind of stuff. Well, if we go with our impulse, then all of a sudden we invent Apple. Like, you know, like it's really weird to think about it like that, but no one does, because they cut us off before we can explain or get to the point where we say, I'm sorry, you can't think this way. Like,
it's that point where the people that have made what's normal, right? You just look at the world and you're like, well, why do we do it like that? Oh, because it wasn't it that way.
Right. Well, that's not going to fly here.
And it's the amount of times where I have been made to feel like crap, been made to hate myself, been made to feel so inferior. And it's some of it for sure is jealousy. Some of it,
a lot of it is jealousy.
People want you to feel the way that they felt. Right. Instead of, I felt that way once. I don't ever want anybody to feel that way. That was terrible. That sucked.
That's the difference. That is the difference between the neurodivergent brain and a normal brain. Is they get jealous because they are actually jealous of this person. The neurodivergent gets jealous because they want to help, and they get angry over the fact that someone tried to help them that couldn't explain it to them, or couldn't tell them that they were a good person, that couldn't tell them they were a gift to this world. That's the difference. The empathy that you're talking about is absolutely true. I mean, no matter what my mom told me, I mean, I had a hell of an education, man. I had a hell of a schooling situation. I don't think I ever passed the test, to be honest, because I would literally write my name and turn it in, but it wasn't because I didn't. Well, part of it was because I didn't care about the class, but there was a friend that was probably standing outside the door that was going through something. I would have easily left that test, left in all of my future to go talk to that person for 5 minutes, because I know that I'm the only one that's going to give them the real advice. So now I'm tired of the fact that people are saying, "Oh, you failed the test." Fuck no, I passed the test in spades because I helped humanity. You're looking at a fucking equation.
Yeah. I mean,
Like, what do you? I mean, you're the same way. Like, you're turning people's power on. You have empathy for all people, but you also have that stubborn drive about you that signals like, I'm going to get this done. So what Up for Mental Health is doing is they're going to combine all of this, all these personalities, and then reach out to the world. That is fucking powerful.
And be loud.
Yes, and be loud. Well, I'm your spokesperson for that.
I mean, like so you have a new ambassador, and she is unbelievable.
Really, I would love to meet her.
So, and that's something that others can do if you want to help out. We have ways that you can help us fundraise. If you go onto the website and you go under fundraise, it's not just, hey, give us money. That's the very last item that is on the website. What is first is, if you want to run a marathon, here's how we can get you shirts and you can raise money for us.
Oh, that's cool.
If you want to do some kind of a drive, here's how you can do that for us. And here's how we can get you some cool swag and you can help us out while doing something incredible, right? And this is like you said, like, when going through life, knew and understood what it felt like to be outcast, to be standing on the fringes. And you know what? I didn't want anybody else to feel that way. If I saw somebody standing by themselves, I would go up and talk to them. And why would I go up and talk to them? Because I know what it feels like. And therefore, I'm going to go and make sure that they don't feel like that.
It's amazing. That's what we do. Like, that's what we naturally do. Like, so what matters? What ultimately matters here?
I mean, it's helping everybody understand that, guess what? Whether somebody tells you normal or not, you are. Why? Because you bleed red, motherfucker. You're human. That we all bleed red. And we all deserve peace. Yeah. We all deserve to understand that we are valuable. Whether we see it or not, we are valuable. And guess what? Eventually, if you hang out with us long enough, you will see it too. Because we ain't going to be shy about letting you know.
Agreed. Rock on. I love it.
Where can people keep up with you?
Okay, so keeping up with me is a very big chore. But so Lobow Spark on Twitter and on TikTok, it's LOBOWSPARK. The podcast is actually Lobow's Spark, but just go to one of those two sites, TikTok or Twitter, and you'll find the podcast somewhere. And definitely listen to the one that you and I had the other night, because that's one of my favorite ones. It's fun for me to do the fade out stuff at the end. I was like trying to pinpoint when I could do that, and I had a blast with you the other night, man. Like, that was so fun. And then seeing you on TikTok, and I'm like, whoa, he seems a little bit down. Let's just instantly stitch a video or do whatever. See, this is what people don't do. This is what normal people don't do. They look at that and they say, oh, that's a shame. And then they scroll to the next video.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that.
No.
What better advantage could you ever fucking want?
We see somebody who is struggling and they're not slipping down to the depths yet, but we still offer our hand because we understand that struggle, right? Before it gets to the depths.
Yeah.
Because it's a hell of a lot easier to pull somebody out when they're at their shoulders than it is when their head's under the water.
That's like a perfect comment. I will have to keep that one. That's a really good one. But no, it's fun. It's like I saw your TikTok and now you're smiling and like really smiling on this, and I'm like, oh, good, excellent. He's doing better.
Being
today.
around people
Like that's
who genuinely care about you,
yeah,
who genuinely are growing themselves, and not just like growing themselves, but wanting to be their best self and helping others to be their best self. It is a feeling unlike any other. It is a feeling that if you see it from the outside and you're jaded, you will not seek it out. But
Yeah.
if you open up just a little bit,
yeah,
you will not let go. You will not let go. And that is something that I love about content creators. I love about online right now is that if you search for the good, you will find the great.
Yo, that is so good. That is absolutely true. I mean, the bottom line is what picks you up more than helping somebody else? Nothing. So when everyone says, you know, you're focusing too much on other people and not enough on yourself, well, actually, by focusing on other people, I am focusing on myself at the same time. That is our gift. That is what the advantage is. Name another quality you'd rather have.
When you start to really understand yourself, you find that line, right?
Yeah.
Where you get to and you're like, oh, I am down for a little while.
Yeah.
But when you find that line and you understand where it is and you can hit the brakes right before you get there, you bounce back a lot faster. And all of a sudden you're like, smiling and helping everybody else faster. And it's like, are you sure you're okay? You didn't take very long. It's like, no, I'm
it's
good.
The momentum. It's the momentum. It's the momentum. It's my dips. I have those days where I don't do a single thing, but I know that they're coming. I prepare for the crash. I know that it is going to happen and when it's going to happen because I know myself. So when I prepare for that crash, it's a 24 to 48 hour nothing. But then after that, it builds up higher. And then you go down a little bit, and then it builds up higher. There's no limit to this.
It's that law of perpetual motion, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you, RJ. God, every time I talk to you, I'm like fucking ready to go just be in the movie 300.
Hey, no, I was planning to go to bed early tonight, but I think I'm going to go run through a brick wall here shortly.
Yeah, I know. You would be surprised how many people have told me that, actually. But the thing is, I get that same feeling. Like,
yes.
Oh man.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. This is what is great about upformentalhealth.org. Go find the resources. If you want to do a video about something you're passionate about, yes, we will put it up there. Yes, contact us. Hit that contact. Be like, I want to do a video on this. Yes, like it's not just the trustees. It's not just the board members, right? It is everybody. This is everybody's charity, everybody's organization. Like you said, we are just a haven for it. And we don't keep that feeling for ourselves. That is the power. That is what you've been saying this entire time. We get that feeling. We get the feelings. We feel all the feelings. We just talked about that. We have big emotions, right?
Oh yeah.
And we're told when we're younger, that's not good. You can't do that. But in reality, it's incredible. And you know what's more incredible? When you don't keep it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I am talking about the good.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about being abusive. I'm not talking about the anger, right? I'm talking about that feeling when you
save somebody's life.
Yeah. And you understand what a gift you are.
Yeah.
And you don't keep that gift for yourself. You give it on to other people.
Yep. 100%.
That is your power. That is your power, my friend. That is my power.
You. Yeah.
I didn't even know I had it until earlier this year. I honestly didn't know I had it.
Well, I'm here to fuel that for you a little bit.
I appreciate that.
So
If you
it's all
feel like
good.
you don't have that, let me tell you, you do. You just haven't seen it yet. You need to shift your perspective because the way you're looking at it, you're only seeing that goldfish swim one way. But if you'd shift your perspective, you'd see it swim the other. And that's all we have to do. Shift our perspective a little bit. So, Lobow, is there any other wisdom that
The
you would
only
like to
other
impart on people? Is there anything you want to promote? Let's talk about
I,
your charity here real quick that you're supporting.
so I don't want to promote anything on on this platform, except for I am doing a crisis text line, or actually everyone that has been on Lobow Spark podcast is always invited to do group episodes, and we do this like every Friday or whatnot, but it kind of grew a little bit, and now not me, started a charity for crisis text line, which is if someone is at the end of their rope, mental health wise, they can text a number anonymously and have someone get in contact with them. Sometimes just the act of texting someone and then having them respond is a big deal, because how many times do people with mental health text someone and it's not convenient for them? Like when you don't get that response, that's partially ADHD, that's a lot of different things. But when you don't get that initial, like, no one cares, crisis text line cares. You might want to edit this out, but I actually tested it. I tested it. Like I went and texted someone, said, I need help. They did it. Like it was 5 minutes and I got a response back. And that is amazingly beneficial for people that are on their last rope. The other thing that I will promote, I guess, is one last thing I have to say is, if you have mental health or you have a mental health disorder, what exactly do you not do well? And does it ultimately matter in life? Now picture what you do well, what your strengths are. I bet they matter. I bet they matter a lot more than what you struggle with. Sometimes it is a gift. It's up to us to bring that out of them.
I love it. Powerful. Again, that's the number 4, mentalhealth.org. Up4mentalhealth.org. Go look it up. Look at the resources. It'll give you numbers to call if you're struggling. Text the crisis text line if you need help. And we'll have that in the show notes in the description below. This has been Lobow. I have been RJ Zimmerman. And you know what? Why don't you come to our haven? Up4mentalhealth.org.
Absolutely. I'm there. I'm down for anything. Like, I would love for this to be a YouTube video. We cut and clip it and everything, and we got some emotional music and all that. I mean, it would be good.
This is going to be a YouTube video, and this is staying
hell yeah.
Trailer. Let's go. I love you all.
I got RJ to say, let's go like that. I love that. Fuck yeah.
Love you all. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.